What you doing in Hop Sing kitchen?
I just brung your knife back, Hop Sing.
The little boy take knife. The big boy take a donut. Bad boy. Very bad boy.
I got some real important things to be doing, Hop Sing. I'll see you.
Many who remember Bonanza think they know the Cartwright family and the actors who brought them to life. But few realize the surprising truths now coming to light. Decades after the show's success, hidden stories and behind-the-scenes secrets are finally being revealed. Former cast members have shared details that challenge what fans have always believed. These unexpected confessions raise new questions about fame, friendships, and what really happened off-camera. What were they hiding all these years? And why are these revelations only surfacing now? Origin of the Bonanza T5 show. The year was 1959, a time when television was still growing and learning how to truly capture the hearts of millions. It was quickly becoming America's favorite form of entertainment, but it had not yet reached its full power. At that moment, the network NBC was searching for a fresh Western series. Western shows were already dominating television, with hugely popular programs like Gunsmoke and Wagon Train attracting massive audiences every week. Still, NBC wanted something new, something that would stand out from the crowd. The network had a bold goal. They wanted a show that would highlight their move into color television, which was still a new and exciting technology at the time. They also wanted a story that families could sit down and enjoy together. That's when producer David Dortort came up with a different idea for a Western. Instead of focusing on a lone cowboy or a fearless sheriff, he imagined a story built around a family. This new show, called Bonanza, would follow a wealthy ranch owner and his 3 grown sons. Each son had a different mother, which added emotional depth and complexity to their relationships. The Cartwright family would not just face gunfights and outlaws, they would deal with real-life struggles, including moral choices, family disagreements, and serious social issues. This made the show very different from the usual simple good versus evil Western stories of that time. Choosing the right actors was extremely important, because the entire show depended on the family feeling real and believable. Lorne Greene was chosen to play Ben Cartwright, the strong and wise father. His deep voice and powerful presence made him perfect for the role. Pernell Roberts, who had strong training in theater and Broadway, played the serious and intelligent eldest son, Adam. Dan Blocker, who stood about 6 feet 4 inches tall and weighed around 300 pounds, brought warmth and kindness to the role of Hoss, the gentle middle son. Finally, Michael Landon, a young actor with a difficult past but growing talent, completed the family as the energetic and emotional youngest son, Little Joe. When the show first aired on September 12, 1959, it faced a major challenge. It was placed in a tough Saturday night time slot where it struggled to attract viewers. The ratings were not impressive, and there was a real risk that the show might be canceled early. But the executives at NBC believed in its potential. In 1961, they made a bold and risky decision: to move Bonanza to Sunday nights at 9 p.m. That single decision changed everything. The new time slot gave the show the attention it needed. More families were at home together on Sunday evenings, and they began tuning in week after week. Slowly but surely, the audience grew. By 1964, Bonanza had become the most-watched show on American television. It held that top position for 3 straight seasons, proving that its unique approach had truly worked. One reason for its success was its storytelling style. Each episode lasted about an hour, giving the writers time to explore deeper and more meaningful stories. Viewers were able to connect with the characters on a personal level. Another major advantage was that the show was filmed in color. At a time when many Westerns were still in black and white, Bonanza brought the American West to life with rich, vibrant landscapes that made the experience feel more real and exciting. As the show's popularity grew, so did the fame of its actors. Lorne Greene became known across America as the perfect father figure, wise, fair, kind, but also strong when needed. This role was very different from the villain characters he had often played before. Dan Blocker became one of the most loved characters on television, showing that true strength could be gentle and caring. Meanwhile, Michael Landon became a favorite among young viewers, especially teenagers, thanks to his charming and emotional performance. His success on the show would later help him become one of television's most successful actor-directors. The impact of Bonanza went far beyond just television ratings. The show became a huge part of everyday life. Its popularity led to a wave of merchandise, including lunchboxes, toys, comic books, novels, and even restaurants inspired by the Cartwright family ranch, known as the Ponderosa. The actors themselves also benefited greatly. By the mid-1960s, Lorne Greene was earning about $16,000 per episode, and the other main actors were earning similar amounts, an extremely high salary for television stars at that time. Perhaps one of the most important things about Bonanza was its willingness to tackle serious social issues. While many shows avoided difficult topics, Bonanza explored subjects like racism, prejudice, immigration, and even environmental concerns. It also featured one of the first recurring Asian characters on American television, Hop Sing, the Cartwright family's cook and manager. Although the character reflected some stereotypes of that era, he was still shown with a level of respect and dignity that was rare at the time. By 1966, Bonanza was no longer just a popular show. It had become a cultural phenomenon. The Cartwright family felt so real and familiar that audiences welcomed them into their homes as if they were part of their own family. Their stories, struggles, and values left a lasting mark on television history, changing the way Westerns and family dramas would be told for years to come. But beneath that flawless and picture-perfect image, small cracks were already starting to appear. Over time, those tiny fractures would slowly grow deeper and wider, turning into serious divisions that affected both the story on screen and the relationships behind the scenes. So, was there conflict? What could have caused it? Let's find out. Roberts' discontent with Bonanza. Even though Bonanza had become one of the most successful and beloved shows on television, life behind the scenes at the famous Ponderosa Ranch was not as peaceful as it appeared on screen. To millions of viewers, the Cartwright family seemed strong, happy, and united. But in reality, not everyone involved in the show felt satisfied or fulfilled. One of the most outspoken cast members was Pernell Roberts, who played Adam Cartwright, the eldest son. At first, Roberts was excited about joining the series. He was not just any actor. He had serious training in classical theater and had performed in works by William Shakespeare. Because of this background, he believed television could be more than simple entertainment. He hoped it could tell deep, meaningful stories that explored real human struggles and ideas. However, as the show continued, Roberts began to feel disappointed. To him, many of the scripts seemed too simple and repetitive. He felt that his character, Adam, was not being fully developed and was often limited to predictable roles in the story. Instead of growing as a complex individual, Adam remained somewhat static, and this frustrated Roberts more and more over time. Behind the cameras, this frustration slowly turned into tension. Roberts became increasingly vocal about his concerns. He wanted the writers to create richer storylines, with deeper emotional themes and even social commentary that reflected real issues in society. But this vision did not fully align with that of the show's production team. The producer, David Dortort, had a different responsibility. He needed to make sure the show remained appealing to a wide audience. Bonanza was designed as family-friendly entertainment, something people of all ages could watch together. Because of this, Dortort preferred to keep the stories straightforward, accessible, and easy to follow, rather than too complex or controversial. This difference in creative vision created a growing divide between Roberts and the producers. It was not just about storytelling. Roberts also raised concerns about how the show handled diversity. He noticed that non-white actors were rarely given significant roles, and when they did appear, their characters were sometimes portrayed in ways he felt were stereotypical or unfair. For Roberts, this was another sign that the show was missing an opportunity to present a more thoughtful and realistic picture of the world. By 1965, these disagreements had reached a breaking point. Even though Roberts was one of the highest-paid actors on television at the time and enjoyed enormous fame because of the show, he made a surprising and risky decision. He chose to leave after 6 seasons. To the public, the explanation seemed simple. He wanted to explore other acting opportunities. But behind the scenes, many insiders understood the truth. The creative differences had become too serious, and staying on the show had become impossible for him. When Roberts left, the producers faced a difficult choice. Adam Cartwright was an important part of the family dynamic, and replacing him with another actor might have upset loyal viewers. In the end, they decided not to recast the role. Instead, they wrote Adam out of the story by sending him on a long journey to Europe and Australia. This allowed the character to remain part of the show's world without actually appearing on screen. The writers then shifted their focus to the remaining members of the Cartwright family. New characters were introduced to help fill the gap. Among them were ranch hands like Candy Canaday and later Jamie Hunter, a young orphan who was adopted by Ben Cartwright. These additions helped keep the show fresh and gave audiences new relationships and stories to follow. Interestingly, despite such a major change, the show continued to perform very well. Its ratings remained strong, and fans stayed loyal. The world of Bonanza proved resilient, even without one of its original stars. For Roberts himself, however, the decision to leave was complicated. On one hand, he achieved respect and praise in theater and made appearances in other television shows. On the other hand, he never again reached the same level of fame or financial success that he had enjoyed during his time on Bonanza. It was a classic example of a difficult trade-off: artistic freedom versus mainstream success. In later interviews, Roberts made it clear that he did not regret his choice. He believed he had stayed true to his values as an actor. Still, he admitted that leaving such a popular role came with challenges. Walking away from something so successful was not easy, and it changed the course of his career forever. What Roberts could not have known at the time was that his departure was only the beginning. In the years that followed, even more serious and painful events would affect the cast and the show itself. So, what happened after Roberts' departure? Did others leave too? Let's take a closer look. The tragic loss of Dan Blocker. On May 13, 1972, the world of Bonanza was shaken by a heartbreaking tragedy that changed the show forever. Both the actors on screen and the people working behind the scenes were hit with a loss so sudden and painful that it left everyone in shock. Dan Blocker, the warm-hearted actor who played the kind and lovable Hoss Cartwright, died unexpectedly after complications from gallbladder surgery. The cause was a pulmonary embolism, a serious condition that blocks blood flow in the lungs. He was only 43 years old. far too young, and his passing felt unreal to those who knew him and to the millions who watched him every week. For 13 seasons, Blocker had brought Hoss to life with a rare mix of strength, humor, and deep kindness. His character was more than just part of the Cartwright family. He was its emotional center, the gentle giant whose big heart made him unforgettable. Losing him was not just losing an actor. It was like losing a member of the family. What made the situation even harder was how sudden it was. When Pernell Roberts left the show years earlier, the writers had time to prepare. They could shape the story and slowly adjust to his absence. But this time, there was no warning. Production was on a break, and then, without any chance to prepare, Blocker was gone. The cast, crew, writers, and producers were left struggling with deep personal grief while also facing a huge creative problem. At that time, television rarely dealt directly with the real-life death of a main character. Shows often avoided such painful realities. But the producers of Bonanza chose a different path. In a bold and emotional decision, they decided to face the loss head-on and include it in the story itself. It was a risky move, but also a deeply respectful one. When the show returned for its 14th season in September 1972, viewers were given the heartbreaking news. Hoss Cartwright had died, not in some random or meaningless way, but as a hero. The story revealed that he had drowned while trying to save another person's life. It was a powerful and fitting ending for a character known for his selflessness and courage. Even in death, Hoss remained true to who he was, a man who always put others before himself. The episode titled Forever explored the painful aftermath of his loss. It showed the Cartwright family struggling to come to terms with their grief, and it delivered some of the most emotional moments ever seen on the show. Lorne Greene, who played Ben Cartwright, gave an especially moving performance. His portrayal of a father mourning his son felt incredibly real, because it reflected his own feelings of losing a dear friend. The line between acting and real emotion became almost invisible, making the episode deeply powerful and unforgettable. For Michael Landon, who played Little Joe, the loss was especially painful. Over the years, he and Blocker had formed a close bond, both on and off the screen. Their natural chemistry had made their scenes together lively and believable, and their friendship behind the scenes made it even stronger. After Blocker's death, Landon later admitted that returning to the Ponderosa set felt strange and empty. Landon was well known for his playful personality and his love of joking around on set. He often pulled pranks on his fellow actors, bringing laughter to long filming days. But he once shared that Blocker had been his favorite person to joke with, the one who enjoyed the fun the most and responded with genuine laughter. So, how is Bonanza after Blocker's sudden death? Did anyone step into his place? Let's find out. Bonanza. After Blocker's death. Behind the scenes at NBC, there was a growing sense of worry and uncertainty about what the future held for Bonanza. The sudden loss of Dan Blocker, who played the warm-hearted and unforgettable Hoss Cartwright, created a problem that could not easily be solved. For years, audience surveys had shown that Hoss was the most loved character on the show. Viewers were drawn to him because he was a rare mix of great physical strength and deep emotional kindness. He could be tough when needed, yet gentle, loyal, and full of heart. This balance made him the center of many of the show's most touching and memorable stories. Because of this, NBC executives quietly began to question whether the show could survive without him. For a short time, they even considered ending the series altogether. It was not an easy decision. Bonanza had been one of the most successful and beloved shows on television for years, In the end, the network decided to take a risk and continue the show for one final season, hoping that the loyal audience would stay. But the death of Dan Blocker did far more than remove a single character. It changed the very soul of the show. At its heart, Bonanza had always been about the strong and believable relationships within the Cartwright family. Each member played an important role in keeping the balance. Hoss, in particular, acted like a bridge between his father, Ben, and his younger brother, Little Joe. When Ben was too strict or stubborn, and Little Joe too impulsive or emotional, Hoss often stepped in to calm things down. Without him, that balance was broken. When season 14 premiered in September 1972, the ratings were still strong at first. Many viewers tuned in out of curiosity. They wanted to see how the show would deal with Hoss's absence and whether it could still feel the same. However, as the weeks went by, something began to change. The numbers slowly started to drop. Fans could feel that something was missing. The special chemistry that had once made the show so powerful was no longer the same. In an effort to fill the gap, the producers introduced a new character, Griff King, played by Tim Matheson. Griff was a former prisoner trying to start a new life, and while the idea was interesting, it could not truly replace what had been lost. The Ponderosa Ranch, once full of warmth, laughter, and emotional depth, now felt quieter and somehow incomplete. No matter how hard the writers tried, Hoss's presence could not be recreated. As the ratings continued to fall, NBC executives faced increasing pressure. Television was changing rapidly in the early 1970s, and networks were eager to attract younger viewers with fresh and modern content. In a decision that would later prove to be a serious mistake, NBC moved Bonanza from its longtime Sunday night slot to Tuesday nights in November 1972. This new time placed the show in direct competition with other popular programs, making it even harder to hold on to its audience. The results were immediate and painful. Ratings dropped even further, faster than before. The loyal Sunday night tradition that fans had followed for years was suddenly broken, and many viewers simply did not make the switch. What had once been one of television's strongest shows was now struggling to survive. On January 16, 1973, after an incredible run of 431 episodes across 14 seasons, NBC officially announced that Bonanza would be canceled. It was the end of an era. Just 1 week later, on January 23, 1973, the final episode, titled The Hunter, was broadcast. Surprisingly, there was no grand farewell, no emotional final chapter to properly say goodbye to the characters. There was no dramatic ending that tied up the many stories fans had followed for over a decade. Instead, the show ended quietly and simply. The Cartwright family rode off into the distance, their future left unknown, as if their lives would continue somewhere beyond the screen. For the cast, the cancellation brought a mixture of sadness and acceptance. Lorne Greene, who had played Ben Cartwright for nearly 14 years, felt disappointed that the show ended so suddenly without a proper conclusion. Still, he admitted that things had not felt the same since Blocker's passing. The spirit of the show, he believed, had changed in a way that could not be reversed. Meanwhile, Michael Landon, who played Little Joe, was already beginning to look ahead. Over time, he had taken on more responsibility behind the camera, directing episodes and exploring new, creative ideas. Although he later admitted that he missed the close friendships and teamwork on the Bonanza set, he was also ready to move forward and take on new challenges. As one of the last great Western series of the TV Golden Age, its cancellation reflected a bigger shift happening across the industry. audiences were beginning to prefer different kinds of stories, shows that were more modern, more urban, and often more serious, reflecting the changing mood of society in the 1970s. Yet for millions of fans who had welcomed the Cartwright family into their homes every Sunday night for over 10 years, the loss was deeply felt. Bonanza had been more than just entertainment. It had been a weekly tradition, a comforting presence, and a story about family, loyalty, and life. When it ended, it left behind a silence that was hard to fill. But how did they cope after the show? Did they go different ways? Let's find out. Lives of Bonanza's stars after the show. The years after Bonanza came to an end showed very different paths for the actors who had brought the Cartwright family to life. For Michael Landon, leaving behind his role as Little Joe Cartwright was far from the end of his career. It marked the start of an even bigger chapter. In 1974, just 1 year after Bonanza wrapped up, Landon created, starred in, and often directed Little House on the Prairie. This new show became a massive hit, running for 9 successful seasons and capturing the hearts of viewers with its stories of family, courage, and everyday struggles. Landon's creative control over the series helped him grow into one of television's most influential figures. In the 1980s, he followed this with Highway to Heaven, a show that further cemented his reputation as a star who could shape both the stories and the characters he wanted to bring to life, making him one of the most respected and independent talents on TV. Lorne Greene, who had played the wise and gentle patriarch Ben Cartwright, carried that same aura of strength and warmth into a completely different genre. In 1978, he starred as Commander Adama in the science fiction series Battlestar Galactica, a role fans humorously compared to Ben Cartwright, but set among the stars. Although the show lasted only 1 season at first, it eventually developed a devoted following. Greene remained active in television throughout the 1970s and 1980s, appearing in miniseries, TV movies, and even commercials. His deep, commanding voice became instantly recognizable, adding to his enduring appeal. For Pernell Roberts, who had left Bonanza earlier than his co-stars, life after the show was filled with variety. He returned to the stage and made guest appearances on different television series, searching for work that challenged him more creatively. His steady success came when he starred in Trapper John, MD from 1979 to 1986, a role that allowed him to explore a more complex and emotionally rich character. His work on this show earned him an Emmy nomination and showed audiences that his talent went far beyond what they had seen on the Ponderosa. Victor Sen-Yung, the actor who played the Cartwright's loyal cook Hop Sing, continued to appear in movies and television, but he also followed his passion for cooking, sharing his knowledge of Cantonese cuisine with a wider audience, and even writing cookbooks. Later in life, he became an entrepreneur, creating and selling Hop Sing's Chinese abacus cookies, turning his love for food into a small business. Mitch Vogel, who joined Bonanza in its later seasons as Jamie Cartwright's adopted son, faced the challenges many child actors do. He struggled to transition into adult acting roles, appearing in a few films and TV shows before deciding to leave Hollywood entirely and live a private life away from the cameras. David Canary, who played Candy the ranch foreman, found his greatest fame after Bonanza. He became widely celebrated for playing twin roles on the soap opera All My Children, earning 5 Emmy Awards for his outstanding performances, more recognition than he had received during his years on the Ponderosa. For each of these actors, Bonanza held a unique place in their lives. For some, it opened doors to even bigger opportunities. For others, it was a stepping stone or a limitation. and for a few, it remained the high point of their careers. But no matter what came afterward, the show that brought them together on the Ponderosa continued to be the role they were most remembered for. So, are they remembered? Is it with what they displayed on the screen? Let's take a closer look. Honoring the Stars of Bonanza. On July 1st, 1991, the entertainment world was shaken by heartbreaking news. Michael Landon, the actor who had brought so much warmth and energy to television screens, passed away at the age of 54. Just 3 months earlier, he had revealed that he was fighting pancreatic cancer, a diagnosis that shocked his fans. He died quietly at his home in Malibu, surrounded by his family, leaving behind a void that was deeply felt by millions. The lively and adventurous little Joe Cartwright from Bonanza was gone, along with the beloved characters he had created as Charles Ingalls in Little House on the Prairie and as Jonathan Smith in Highway to Heaven. His passing marked the end of an era for fans who had grown up watching him on screen. What made Landon's death feel even more tragic was the fact that he had always seemed so healthy and full of life. Before his acting career took off, he had been a track and field athlete and had carried that love of fitness throughout his life. He exercised regularly, stayed active, and always seemed energetic and strong. His sudden decline due to pancreatic cancer surprised everyone, friends, colleagues, and fans alike. More than 500 people from the entertainment industry came to his funeral to pay their respects. Melissa Gilbert, his co-star from Little House on the Prairie, gave a deeply moving speech, calling him both a creative partner and a father figure. She remembered his kindness, generosity, and the way he had inspired everyone around him. By the time Landon passed, he had become the third major Bonanza star to die at a relatively young age. Dan Blocker, who played the gentle giant Hoss Cartwright, had died in 1972 at just 43. Victor Sen-Yung, the actor behind the lovable cook Hop Sing, died in 1980 at 65 from accidental carbon monoxide poisoning caused by a faulty heater. These unexpected deaths, happening far earlier than fans had imagined, led some people and media outlets to speak of a possible curse surrounding the show, though there was no real reason for it beyond unfortunate coincidences. The losses didn't end there. Lorne Greene, the steady and strong Ben Cartwright, died on September 11, 1987, at the age of 72. He had suffered from pneumonia following heart surgery. Even though he lived longer than some of his co-stars, his passing still felt like the final closing chapter of the original Bonanza era, as he had been the father figure who had guided the Cartwright family through every story and adventure on the show. Years continued to pass, and more of the cast eventually left the world. Pernell Roberts, who had played the eldest son, Adam Cartwright, passed away on January 24, 2010, at 81. Like Landon, he had succumbed to pancreatic cancer. David Canary, another actor associated with the series in its later years, died in 2015 at 77 from natural causes. Each death reminded fans of the passage of time and the fragility of life, even for those who had once seemed larger than life on television. Despite all these losses, the magic of Bonanza has endured. The show continues to be watched around the world, introducing new generations to the stories of the Cartwright family. While the actors who made the Ponderosa home so memorable have passed away one by one, their characters live on, full of energy and spirit. So, what do you think about the shocking revelation by the Bonanza cast? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe.